10 serial killing long-haul truckers. At any rate 25 long-stretch truckers are as of now detained for sequential homicides. In 2009, the FBI uncovered their database, the Highway Serial Killings Initiative, which tracks data around many homicides that have occurred along US thruways and attempts to interface them together by subtleties. In the initial 4 years of its reality, the program helped specialists to distinguish and capture 10 men accepted to be liable for more than 30 passings. Here are 10 known executioners who made the open streets of America their horrible chasing grounds. Keith Hunter Jesperson. In 1990, the body of a killed 23-year elderly person was found off the side of an expressway by a bicyclist. Before long, Lavon Pavlinak told police that she and her sweetheart, John Sosnovsk, had submitted the homicide together. Irritated that Pavlinak and Sosnovsk were accepting media consideration for the wrongdoing, the genuine executioner left admissions on open bathroom dividers the nation over, marked with a smiley face. At the point when that neglected to collect consideration, he started to send letters to the media with a similar signature, driving the media to name him the upbeat face killer. After 4 years, the executioner admitted to killing Tonja Bennett, the lady found by the bicyclist. He likewise drove examiners to confirm that he'd dispersed, and Pavlinak and Sosnovsk were in the long run discharged. It worked out that Pavlinak had made a bogus admission trying to cut off her association with her damaging beau regardless of whether it implied spending time in jail herself. From 1990 to 95. In any event 8 ladies, for the most part whores, from Oregon to Florida were discovered choked. The strangler, Keith Hunter Jesperson, had a long history of misuse, disregard, psychological well-being issues, and tormenting creatures as a kid. When he was 17, he'd just endeavored to murder 2 individuals. Tonja Bennett had been his first effective homicide. Another casualty, a drifter who disturbed Jesperson by bothering him to hustle just a bit so she could get to Indiana and see her beau, was lashed to the base of his truck face down after she was assaulted and killed. Her body hauled several miles to dispose of. Recognizing highlights. It was just Jesperson's intentional admission and unveiling of her body's area that prompted the disclosure of her murder. Jesperson was gotten after he choked his fiancée, Julianne Winningham, on the grounds that he'd concluded that she was simply after his cash. In view of her connections to him, he was immediately caught and admitted to more than 150 killings, before abjuring and admitting to 8. As of late, Jesperson, a productive craftsman, helped examiners with a composite sketch of his 6th casualty, whom he murdered more than 20 years sooner in Florida. As specialists endeavor to recognize her, he is carrying out 3 life punishments in Oregon. John Wayne Boyer. In 2003, 31-year-old Scarlett Wood went to a gathering at an inn in Wilmington, North Carolina. Before long, her mom announced her missing. Since he'd been seen with Wood at the gathering, police addressed truck driver John Wayne Boyer, who expressed that she'd left while he'd been dozing. Longer than a year later, a battered body with cut injuries was found, and it was practically an additional 2 years before the body was affirmed to be that of the missing lady. Boyer was captured in 2006, indicted for second-degree murder, and condemned to 12 years in prison. After his capture, Boyer was constrained to give a DNA test, which connected him to the 2005 homicide of 25-year-old Jennifer Smith, whose body was found close by an interstate. In Tennessee, like Wood, it took around 2 years for Smith's personality to be set up. Boyer was removed to Tennessee in 2015 to deal with indictments in her demise. He further admitted to 2 different killings, which fathomed 2 missing people cases, each longer than 10 years old. Scott William Cox. Toward the finish of 1990 and the start of 1991, 2 whores were killed in the territory of Portland, Oregon. The first, Rihanna and Brunson, figured out how to make it to an open area and find support before surrendering to her wounds at a close-by medical clinic a brief time frame later. The second, Victoria Roan, was discovered pounded the life out of in a Portland rail yard. That spring, an observer saw a lady tossed out of the taxi of a truck. She had been severely battered and ambushed, yet she would not squeeze charges. Sure that they had a sequential executioner on their hands, specialists utilized data from the Observer to find a man named Seth Scott Cutter. They couldn't hold him since the casualty had fled. However, they gave a release about him to alarm other jurisdictions. A Newburgh police investigator got the announcement yet perceived the man as Scott William Cox. After an examination was propelled, Cox in the long run admitted to the homicides and to beating a few whores around Oregon and Washington. He was just indicted for Brunson's and Roan's killings, for which he was given 25 years in jail, yet he is a suspect in around 20 additional cases. He was discharged in 2013 and stays on lifetime parole with a lower leg screen. Scene: Patrick Gobble. He stood 191 centimeters, 6 feet 3, weighed more than 140 kilograms, 300 pounds, and appeared to be persuaded that ladies were pulled into his strong body. He once guaranteed that a sweetheart beat him up. 2 or 3 his neighbors in North Carolina portrayed him as delicate and liberal, since he would regularly bring them blessings. When he came back from the Road Point scene, Patrick Gobble was 28 years of age when he was captured and accused of the homicide of a lady found close by Interstate 40 in Virginia. The lady had been choked and run over by a major apparatus, according to the tire tracks. Her head laid on a shopping pack from which analysts had the option to recuperate a unique mark. While analysts anticipated unique finger impression investigation, 2 additional ladies were found in North Carolina and Tennessee, both near the Virginia fringe and close to where the principal casualty had been found. The lady in Tennessee had likewise been run over after Gobble's capture. He admitted to 2 different killings, and specialists started to take a gander at him as a suspect in any event. 10 extra passings in states spread around the nation. A specialist who worked the case said that Gobble didn't seem to comprehend the gravity of his violations. Gobble once stated, "I will do my time in Tennessee and get this behind me so I can move on." Gobble was seen as liable of 2 checks of homicide and given 2 back-to-back life sentences. He likely won't get the opportunity to put his grisly wrongdoings behind him. Wayne Adam Ford. There most likely wasn't some other response than bewilderment and loathsomeness when Wayne Adam Ford strolled into a police headquarters in Eureka, California, conveying a Bible and a cut-off bosom. He admitted to killing 4 ladies from 1997 to 98. Ford's significant other had sought legal separation and would not let him have appearance with his young child. His raising resentment at her, he stated, drove him to kill whores and drifters he got along his truck courses. He professed to have attempted to resuscitate every lady, without much of any result. 2 of the ladies were dismantled, and all were disposed of in conduits around California. 1 casualty stays unknown. Her body was excessively gravely disfigured to be identified. Despite the corrupted way he slaughtered his casualties, Ford stands apart among sequential executioners as one of only a handful, not many, to communicate regret, having mournfully advised police that he would not like to be liable for further passings. At the hour of his admission, Ford was not a suspect in any of the murders. He got capital punishment. John Robert Williams. 7 slayings in 7 months will get some consideration, particularly if the police can connect the killings together despite huge geological separations. Mississippi long stretch trucker John Robert Williams' auntie got a kick out of the chance to observe genuine wrongdoing shows, and she happened to find a scene specifying the homicide of Cassie Jo Popeston, a 19-year elderly person whose body had been dumped off a scaffold in Grapevine, Texas, around 50 kilometers, 30 miles, northwest of Dallas. She called in a tip, saying the case sounded a great deal like a homicide that her nephew had gloated about as of late. In the meantime, Williams and his better half were sitting in prison in Mississippi, blamed for the homicide of 20-year-old Nikki Hill, whom they'd met at a casino. Using the FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative database, expert Terry Turner had the option to connect 7 unsolved cases to Williams, and when criminologists went to scrutinize the couple, they found a couple of rather chatty individuals, very ready to admit to the killings they were associated with, just as a few more. Williams is carrying out a real existence punishment in addition to 20 years in Mississippi for Hill's homicide. His better half, Rachel Cumberland, is serving 20 years. They deal with extra indictments as examiners around the nation fabricate their cases. Delmas Calvin. Delmas Calvin, a long-stretch trucker situated in Ohio, went to the consideration of experts in 2004 after he violently assaulted a whore in the taxi of his truck. Since she remembered insights regarding him and the truck, and went to certain lengths to guarantee that her DNA would be found in Calvin's truck, police had the option to interface him to various assaults that had been submitted around Toledo. Just as to the homicide of 37-year-old Melissa Weber, Calvin was at first accused of 2 killings, those of Weber and of Jackie Simpson. However, admitted to 3 more as a component of a supplication bargain that saved him capital punishment. He was condemned to 2 continuous life terms without the chance of parole. He further ensnared himself in any event one more homicide, the purposeful overdose demise of 40-year-old Dorothea Wetzel. In 2010, he was prosecuted for the homicide of a 7th casualty, Donnelly White from New Jersey, in 1987. Bruce Mendenhall. Following 25-year-old Sarah Nicole Halbert was discovered taking shots at a Nashville, Tennessee truck stop. Analyst Pat Pastiglian recognized a truck driven by Illinois-based Bruce Mendenhall as coordinating one found in reconnaissance film at the wrongdoing scene. Assessment of the truck uncovered blood and wicked dress, illicit weapons, and the possessions of an Indianapolis lady who had disappeared just a day sooner. After Mendenhall was captured, he ensnared himself in the killings of in any event 5 other ladies. Blood tests uncovered the DNA of 10 unique individuals in Mendenhall's taxi. Utilizing the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VCAP, specialists had the option to coordinate Mendenhall's MO to a few other unsolved homicides around the country. He was first indicted for the sales of the homicide of 3 observers in his preliminary and condemned to 30 years. He was in this way sentenced for first-degree murder for Sarah Halbert's passing and got life in jail. Mendenhall is at present anticipating preliminary in the 2007 shooting demise of another lady, 48-year-old Samantha Winters, whose body was discovered stuffed in a waste can in Tennessee. He will at that point go, being investigated in Indiana and Alabama, while police keep on exploring his connections to other unsolved crimes around the nation, just as various virus cases extending back a very long time in Tennessee alone. Adam Leroy Lane. July 2007 was a startling month for ladies in the Northeast. Initially, Darlie Newelt was wounded to death as she talked on the telephone in her own lawn, while her family was inside the house. After 4 days, Patricia Brooks was trapped as she dozed on a couch in her home in provincial Pennsylvania, her throat cut before the attacker fled through the opened entryway by which he'd entered. Creeks endure her assault. A week and a half from that point forward, long-stretch trucker Adam Leroy Lane, who was situated in North Carolina, strolled to living arrangements close to a Route 78 truck stop in New Jersey, searching for an opened entryway. Monica Massaro was discovered dead later with different cut injuries to her head and upper body. The one night from now in Massachusetts, 15-year-old She McDonough's muted hints of battle animated her folks, who strolled into her room to observe Lane remaining over her bed, holding a blade to her throat. She's dad, Kevin, a slight yet very much manufactured man, handled the stout, 110 kg, 245 pounds, Lane while her mom, Jeannie, got the blade, cutting her deliver the procedure. Along these lines, finished Lane's sequential slaughtering career through blood proof found on the blade he'd utilized. Lane was connected to the initial 3 stabbings. For the assault against She, he was condemned to 25 to 30 years. For Darlie Newelt's homicide, he got life in jail, while Patricia Brooks' assault got him another 10 to 20 years. For Monica Massaro's homicide, he was condemned to 50 years. Diane Newelt's better half, who'd at first been accused of a homicide, was cleared and discharged from prison. Robert Rimbert Jr. At the hour of this composition, Robert Rimbert Jr. is just a charged sequential executioner, an over-the-street driver based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Rimbert served 6 years in 1997 for deliberate homicide in the wake of shooting 24-year-old Dadron Lewis, yet investigators state Rimbert killed in any event one more individual that equivalent year, and was liable for 3 killings in 2015. In September 2015, police captured Rimbert as he left the truck stop shower. They accept that, alone the day preceding, Rimbert shot and killed his 2 housemates, Morgan Neitzel, aged 26, and his own cousin, 52-year-old Jerry Rimbert. Since he utilized Neitzel's vehicle as his escape vehicle, police effectively followed him down. After Rimbert's DNA was tested as a major aspect of the examination, he was connected to the assault and strangulation murder of 31-year-old Kimberly Hall. DNA and her way of death coordinated proof on account of 47-year-old Rena Mee Payne, who was slaughtered in the primary portion of 1997. Charged with 10 tellers of disturbed homicide, just as 15 extra charges including assault, net maltreatment of a body, and grabbing. Rimbert went being investigated in mid-October 2015, while examiners investigated his potential connections to various unsolved killings. He could confront capital punishment.